Oh, pardon for all this me for all this messiness. I'm abhi pratapta, and I'm going to watch this new post made by Savelio. Well, then this person is very that explains why they are irrelevant. If there is no see, I'm not an archaeologist. That's why I'm very limited in my knowledge of the Greeks, except for the statues and the architecture, and of course Homer, and then the fragments, which are evidently real, and Thucydides, in which you can discern a style, which I don't like. I don't like, for example, Xenophon, or in the same way I don't like what is his name? The other great mythologist next to Homer. See, I don't even know him. Hesiod, whatever. I don't have any value for him. Just don't. It doesn't. It's not something I can even begin to want to think about. It's just clearly to me like I don't. That's not in my universe relevant. It's too analytical, and maybe the result. I mean, surely, yes. This is the weird paradoxical thing for me, because surely the results of these of people that I themselves do not value, or have no special value my time more than want to in other ways than to think about them. Um, their influence has had influence on people that I do value. So this is complicated, but I don't mind that. I have my own perspective, but there's no ground other than poetry in a sense, the power of it itself. Well, this, I wonder what it is in the end you're talking about. If it's not clear, like for example, if there's no source really, and there's only interpretation, then already it means Plato and Socrates are already imaginations, quite purely, nothing much more, and that means that you are really reading Lampert, not about. So it has little to do with what happened in Greece. Then I would think it's just text upon text upon text upon text, so that eventually you can describe what you want to say for yourself. But I ask you, can you not say this? Well, without wanting to have others had said it. Like I like that what I've said is already implied by Thales, and by Heraclitus and all those guys. And I like that Socrates is contradicting it, and Plato, as the texts survive that I have read. Because yeah, he quite downright contradicts it, and that's what I read. And these texts, well, they exist, and I think they're stupid. Well, they're smart, but I think they're unwise. Okay, this one. Well, yes, that was amusing. Well, I've read my share of him, of course. I have not based my judgment on nothing. Also, I've seen into the Greek style of his, and I can see it's radically different from Homeric style, which is, of course, very archaic, but the most beautiful. But then there is other stuff that is. I should actually go study, see if I'm. For me, it's very difficult to approach the tragics, but I should do this now. Because the tragic is not something we exactly need to arrive at, but it is the highest form they had arrived at. And it is precisely because it breaks down the order. but subsumed is the broken down elements of the order are subsumed in this supposed cosmic order, which is not a universal cosmic like all. It's more just very deep, great and deep. It has no absolute. As far as another thing I was noticing, well, idea of eternity and death and transience, like how what does perish and what persists. Well, this is probably what you are really after with the eternal cycle. Like what is really existence? Because is it not true that something, for it to exist, it must eternally exist? For it to metaphysically exist, must it not eternally exist? For it to be fully said to exist? Yes, well, but weirdly, this can actually be transformed, transmuted, so as to be ultimately reversed. Meaning, once it is approached rightly, that which really exists persists eternally. And this is not merely a poetry. This is actually a reference what happened to structural integrities that are uncompromisable, where we have gold literally as a analogy, whereas it's actually literally the case of a very pure surveying having come about through great violence and lucked out compared to lead, for example, which is very corruptible, I suppose. I don't know how lead seems out, but it's not a noble metal, must be corruptible. So would be a rusty lead. It would be really like not good. Anyway, but instead you have gold, which is I see also like the soul of a Mithras, for example, and this reverberates first of all through the thousands of years, but by consequence, and merely by seen consequence, let alone by unseen consequence, it forms a standard around which great developments take place. But I see the universe not as finally, ultimately, matter of physical matter, because let's say it cannot be reasonably, technically collapsed into nothingness from physical matter. This is not a rational proposition. I believe not. The Big Bang thing. I believe we must search for a more eternal, just presence of being, which can unfold into time cycles, which is really what we mean when we say time, but can be very still in regions for eternities upon eternities, and then ripples can come through and some worlds can emerge. I see it more like this. But words like eternities that don't even do justice to how much and how long and how far and wide apart these things are. Yes, I know my words are contradict. This is because I really do not. I mean, because of how I think, I don't believe that ultimately we can capture much. This is why, with grammar and correct reference and analytical philosophy, like approaching it like mathematics, words must reach beyond what they mean. What meaning must be. Yes, you see. Another post. Yeah, that was this one. Well, so far so good. Let's quit now. This before we are